All right. Well, first, let me welcome everyone to our beautiful event center in Agoura Hills. It's great to see everyone here tonight. It's our hopes that after tonight's town hall meeting, you'll leave here a little bit better informed of the many resources available to you. You'll have a better idea of what you yourself can do to better prepare for the rainy season. And you'll have a clearer understanding of what your government leaders and organizations are doing to ensure the recovery process is a seamless one, where we can continue to all work together to rebuild our community. My name is Ramiro Adeva. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Agoura Hills. Before we move into the presentation, I'd like to take a quick moment to just say a sincere thank yous to our first responders. As you all know, nearly 1 month ago, this fire rocked the community. And in a time when everyone was looking to get out, our first responders were looking to get in. They were here to fight the fire and protect the community that we all love. And now after the fire, they do remain committed to seeing us through the recovery phase. So on behalf of everyone here tonight, I look to our first responders and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Another thing I'd like to share with you today, I was speaking with Fire Chief Williams the other day, and he mentioned an interesting bit of information that I'd like to share with you. This fire caused the evacuation of over 250,000 people in an 18-hour window. Just think about that for a second. 250,000 people in an 18-hour window. And that's something that's never been seen in the history of the state. When I asked him what the single most critical factor was for making that evacuation possible, his response was the people. It was the community. It was all of you that listened to the evacuation orders and followed directions, and you allowed the first responders to do their jobs. And for that, I think you, the community, also deserve a round of applause. All right, a couple of things on tonight's town hall process. First, we're looking to streamline the typical town hall meeting by minimizing the number of agencies that will formally be speaking at the beginning. This will allow more time for Q&A, which I think is obvious that you all are here for. Second, as you checked in tonight, you were given 2 comment cards. It's our goal tonight that everyone who has a question to ask is given an answer. And obviously that can be challenging to do when we have to put this building out at 8 p.m. So what we're asking is that you write your comments on your card, and at any point during the town hall, you can hand it to one of the city staff members. Now, most importantly, when you're filling out your comment cards, we ask that you check the box for whom the question is being asked. During the Q&A period, we'll go agency by agency. I'll read the question out loud, and the agency will answer. And if for some reason we're unable to answer all the questions tonight, we'll at least have your questions in hand, and we'll post all the answers within a couple of weeks on the city's website. So this way, everyone can be assured their question is heard and addressed, as opposed to not being able to speak at all if a microphone is held and time runs out. So following the Q&A period, we will have a breakout session where you can speak one-on-one with various agency reps that are here tonight, and I believe that you also have a list of those agencies with you as well. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and get started. And I'd first like to invite the Director of Public Works for Los Angeles County, Mr. Mark Estrella.
Well, thank you, Ramiro. I want to thank the City of Agoura Hills and Ramiro for setting up the meeting and giving us an opportunity to address the citizens of Agoura Hills and the surrounding communities. I first want to start out by saying that I really feel for you and for the suffering that you're going through at this time in your lives. Those of you who have lost your homes or perhaps had your homes damaged or just have been displaced by such a tragic event in your community. LA County is your overarching regional help in this. And under the leadership of the County Board of Supervisors as well, and specifically Supervisor Kuehl, she wants you to know we're here. This is job number 1 for Los Angeles County, to restore the communities of Agoura, Malibu, Calabasas, and the unincorporated communities of Los Angeles County. Many of you may not know, but the County of Los Angeles provides regional services across the area, including storm protection, road service, mental health services, and a number of other municipal services that come to your community in cooperation and coordination with the City of Agoura Hills. And I'm proud to be here standing side by side with the city officials and officials from the state of California and the federal government to tell you that we're here to help and that we want to answer your questions. And I think it's very important that we not pontificate too much tonight, but actually listen and hear what your services you need to have. Also, I want to remind you that probably the best way to find out about your individual situation is to get with those that are, ask your questions, but also to get with those that are here representing the county and the city and the state and federal government at the different tables tonight, maybe presenting your specific conditions so they can provide you some wraparound services so you can, again, get back to your normal way of life here in Agoura Hills and the surrounding communities. The Woolsey Fire was an unprecedented event in our fire history. I've been working for the County of Los Angeles for 31 years. I actually worked here in the County Building and Safety Office for many years, interacting with you and with the county and incorporated communities as well. I worked in the Malibu as a part of my career as well, so I'm very familiar with the terrain and the people who live here, and perhaps the culture as well. And I know after being through 3 or 4 of these major events, this was one that was tremendous. 14 miles wide with a footprint of 150 square miles, driven by gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. It's the most destructive fire LA County has ever seen. And that's not something we want to wear as a badge, right? I mean, I don't want to be the one to say I lived through that, but that is what's happened. And it has been devastating. I've had several flights over the area, and I've had reports from our field folks as well as fire and sheriff about the heroics that happened here. Not only the heroes of the first responders, but those of you who helped your neighbors, who took the time and made them safe as well. And I think we all have to give you a round of applause as a community for standing up and taking care of each other as well. So thank you to everybody in the room for caring for your neighbor and standing up during this event. It's a miracle that only a few people passed, and it's still an absolute tragedy that we had the lives lost that were lost in this event. It could have been much worse. As was said, 250,000 people were evacuated. And I know that many of you have lost your homes, have been displaced, as I said, and are currently in the early stages of recovery and rebuilding process. I want to also mention to you, as a fire victim myself, in high school I lost our home to fire in the San Bernardino area, the Panorama fire in the 1980s. I can tell you that it took a long time, and I still to this day think about those events surrounding the loss of my own home. Many times thinking about not getting the pictures out of my house or dreaming of actually getting them. And actually standing on the roof, and even though it was on fire, believing that the house was never going to go away. There's something about that home that's so important to us and to children, especially your own children. It's a significant event, and so I encourage you to also look at the mental health component of this event on your lives. And county mental health is here to help, as well as city folks to help with that part of it as well. So I do understand the loss. I went through it personally, and I've been, as a public service, working on recovery for many years. Our Department of Public Works is a recovery agency, and as such, the County of Los Angeles has stood up our Recovery Coordinating Center. It's led by our CEO and chaired by our Supervisor Kuehl, your Supervisor Kuehl. This Recovery Coordinating Center has been actively working on the fire since the beginning of it. We have formed up multiple teams, and I'm here as the section head of operations for LA County. My section includes community planning, community government relations, an engineering branch, and environmental branch. The services from this section include a housing assistance section for temporary housing, rebuild permits section in which we'll be working with the cities and unincorporated areas to get you back into your homes through the rebuild process. We are running in charge of the disaster assistance centers, and we also have a health and human services section in our unit. We have a watershed unit that's looking at the recovery of the watershed, and this includes looking at post-fire situations with mud and debris flow. We've investigated a tremendous amount of structures already that are still standing that could be threatened by mud and debris flow. It's a service of your Los Angeles County Flood Control District. We have an engineering advice group, and I'll give the number here in a minute for that, where if you'd like us to come out and look at your property, whether it's completely raised or if there's a structure left behind, so that we might give you engineering advice for post-fire protection. And we also have a long-term recovery plan being developed in that unit. Our infrastructure group has been hard at work looking at the infrastructure of the area. I know many of you know that we've had 2 bridges lost that affect these communities specifically. Those are really important to me as a director of public works. And I want you to know that we've gone, and today, in fact, today I've authorized the installation of temporary bridges for both locations. It's going to require... Those bridges were authorized under delegated authority by the County Board of Supervisors last Tuesday, in which I'll be able to use emergency funding to put at least some type of temporary bridge in place that will give you recovery and response and emergency access out of the area. It's not acceptable to me as the Director of Public Works that we have roads down. They're important. And they're important to you because it's a part of your safety. So we'll get those done just as fast as we can. We also have a water unit that's looking at the current water condition and working with Las Virgenes Water District. And on the flood control side, the hidden side that you don't see much of, we've got troops out in the field that are currently looking at every debris basin in the area, making sure that it's got full capacity. We're looking at storm drain systems, and like I said, we're looking for local ponding and local potential damage during these recent storms. We have a unit that stood up with Cal Recycle and Cal OES. It's looking at the debris removal program for all of you. I encourage you to get engaged in this program if your property's been burned to the ground or partially burned. We have been warning folks about interacting with materials on the sites. Let's be careful that we don't dig into stuff that we're not sure what it is. And so DTSC is already in the field with our county fire hazmat teams looking at properties and identifying any potential hazardous materials. We'll have those materials removed, and we'll approve the removal of the debris. If you have homeowners insurance, you're going to want to sign up for this program because the program will essentially be free to you, in which you'll be able to give us right of entry. We will then examine the debris, and then we'll have Cal Recycle bring in contractors to actually remove the debris from your property so they're ready and set to go for rebuild. I personally witnessed the program in Ventura last year. It was fantastic. We are currently setting it up. It will also include interacting with your insurance companies for you. So this is a program you want to know more about, and we'll have someone come up and give you more details to sign up for that program as it evolves. We also have our public health officer involved in my unit. So you can see the unit, the section that I'm in charge of in the county is very, very active. It's a community-based section. I have my chief from that, one of my chiefs here from that section. I want to make sure you all know Mr. John Kelly, who's here tonight. John, if you could stand up. John is a resident of Agoura Hills. He lives on Liberty Canyon. He's a longtime employee of the County of Los Angeles, and he's out advocating for me for you. Look for John in the field. If you have specific areas or concerns in your community regarding any of the areas that I just talked about, you can contact John at the Disaster Assistance Center, and we will get right on it, making sure we're aware of it, and we're coordinating with the city as well as the state and federal officials to take care of whatever issue you might have. By the way, John is the one that identified the bridges as needing to be put in place right away.
We're talking the Chesborough Bridge, right?
Yes, sir.
You said two bridges. I don't know what the other one is, but a lot of us are here for that Chesborough Bridge.
Chesborough and Mulholland that trout down that area, yes. Okay, so like I said, this is job one right now for the County of Los Angeles, and I am excited that I get the opportunity to serve you all in this way. After all, public works directors don't get to the field too often, and it's unfortunate that at this event I'm back out here speaking to all of you, but I can tell you this. The County of Los Angeles cares about you. We want to be working with you and hear your concerns. We are being directed by our board to be here and make this job one priority, as I said, and there are many people here from the county who are ready to activate at your call. In terms of storm prep, just real quick, we're seeing the kind of rain we want to see so far, and that is rain that has less than ½ inch per hour rain intensities. But I've got to tell you that being an old flood control person, we are seeing climate change in action these days. We're seeing less frequent but higher intensity storms in the County of Los Angeles. It's creating sediment at a rate that we haven't seen in the 110 years the district's been in place. And with a burn scar, as hot as this fire burned, we can expect the hazard of mud flow to exist throughout the entire season. One of the things we're doing to prep for that is, as I said, we're visiting homes. We've visited over 1,400 homes already, or properties already in this area and throughout the Malibu and the unincorporated areas. We've identified vulnerable locations. If we've had a visit with you already, you know you've received some form work about how to protect your property and your lives during storm events this year. We are in joint incident command with the fire department, LA County Fire and LA County Sheriff Department, as it relates to the storm events as they occur in this area related to the Woolsey fire. And I want to encourage all of you to go to lacounty.gov LA County Recovers for more information and for timely information related to storm preparation. Also, you can call anytime. You can call anytime 1-800-675-4357, and that is a 24 dispatch number for Los Angeles County Department of Public Works. And that's for signals out, that's for any infrastructure issues, that's for bridge-related issues, or for storm events related issues throughout your communities. We'd be happy to respond. So infrastructure, the Infrastructure Task Force has performed damage assessment. I talked about it. We're identifying key pieces of infrastructure. You're going to see us active, and I want to just have one moment to talk to you about that is, when you see us active or your street has been closed potentially, there's a reason for that. It's either that we're concerned about your safety, the safety of first responders, or perhaps we're trying to restore power or road systems, guardrail. All of it, tons of it, has to be replaced after this event. And I know that can cause an inconvenience for you and your family, but believe me, we're doing that as quickly and as safely as we can do that, and it's for only one purpose. That's to get you repopulated and back to ignoring who we are, and actually just getting back to your real lives. After all, no one wants to be a builder in their life. No, maybe not. No one wants to be in this situation. I get it. The infrastructure that serves you is critical to your safety and to your response. And lastly, during this season, as you know now, whenever an official asks you to leave your home or advises you to leave the home, I want you to listen to that person, whoever they are, fire, sheriff, public works. We need you all to work with us as you did through the fire during this storm season so that we don't have any further losses and that we can protect you and your property throughout the season. So I don't want to go much further because I'm very interested in hearing more about what your concerns are. I will say that I have a number of staff that are here from all the areas of service that I talked about tonight. They're at your disposal. They'll be here all night. They'll be at the tables as well. And then we'll be answering your technical questions as the night goes forward. Anyway, just again, I want to say that I am so sorry for the loss in this area. If you're a fire victim or otherwise, we've had a really tough year in the area, this area up here, with the loss of life, the borderline, as well as with this fire. And it really pulls on my heart to know you're going through this, but know that you have some very dedicated public servants that are here to serve you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Just a quick reminder before we move on to our next speaker. Again, those comment cards are going to be really critical for the Q&A portion. So we have staff roaming all around looking for hands to go up. So as soon as you have a question, please write it down on those comment cards, and we can make sure that we read it so everyone can hear. The next person I would like to bring up represents the Disaster Recovery Center, Steve Dwyer.
Thank you. I actually have a very simple message tonight, and that is, if you have not yet visited the Disaster Recovery Center over the last couple of weeks that it has been open, I encourage you to do so. It is a one-stop collaborative effort between federal, state, city organizations and agencies, nonprofit organizations, all in one place for you to have the most convenient opportunity to deal with any loss that you may have incurred as a result of the fire. It's located at 30440 Agoura Road, just down the road here at the Hilton Foundation building. On your way in, there was a flyer with the address, as well as a list of all of the agencies that are represented at the Disaster Recovery Center. So I'm not going to in any way try to cover all of these agencies, but I want to say this. In the time I spent at this recovery center, as well as after the Thomas fire up in Ventura, I ran into many people who, thinking they were coming in for one issue, would walk down the hall and see the signs for other agencies, whether it's the tax assessor, whether it's the mental health agency, whether it's the Red Cross, and think to themselves, oh, I hadn't thought that I might want to stop in and speak with somebody from that agency when I first came in just to register with FEMA or the SBA. So I've had that experience many times now after both fires, including in the last couple of weeks here in Agoura Hills. And so if you haven't visited, I implore you to take advantage of this opportunity. As the most convenient convenient and one-stop location where you can talk to representatives from a wide variety of agencies to help solve issues that you now find yourself trying to solve and didn't intend to be in this position a month ago. If you went to the Disaster Recovery Center more directly after it was set up a couple weeks ago, it could also be that you've discovered other questions in the last couple weeks, given your situation following the fire. So it remains open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and I encourage you to go back several times while it is open to take advantage of its convenience. In particular, I encourage everyone to register with FEMA and the SBA. Their registration deadline will be the early part of January. And so again, please take advantage of the opportunity to register with them while they are right here in your neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. I actually had an opportunity today to go to the DRC, and like you said, it's a great place to visit. Anybody looking for resources, if you've been a victim of the fire, please don't hesitate to go up there. They have representatives from all the different levels of government to help. So they're there to help. One of those entities that happens to be at the DRC is the California Office of Emergency Services. And as part of that, I'm going to invite up Todd Tallhammer, who's going to speak specifically to the debris removal process.
Good evening. My name is Todd Tallhammer. As you said, I'm the actual architect, engineer that designed the cleanup program that some of you may have heard about in Ventura County. We were here at the Thomas Fire. We have 678 properties. We started last January, and we're on track to start here in January as well. I want to give you about a 5-minute spiel, just discussion thereof about the program so you can understand what we do and what options are available to you. You're going to have 2 programs available. You're going to have your private cleanup, and you're going to have the state-sponsored coordinated debris program. I designed this program. I was fortunate enough to, unfortunately, raise my hand in the Agoura fire in 2007. And they said, we need to protect Lake Tahoe from all the structural ash on the ground. And of course, me as a young engineer, I said, no problem, I can do it. Needless to say, I've been gone from home for 5 years now. I truly will say I understand where you're coming from, and I know what you need in order to get the debris off the ground. I lost my childhood home in the Valley Fire in 2015. I lost my second childhood home in the Tubbs Fire in 2017. I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know what you need. I'm going to be here at the end of the table so I can explain, answer any questions you may have. I know what you're going to do. I can tell you right now, from being across the state of California, you've got phenomenal support locally. Phenomenal county support, phenomenal city support. You've got an infrastructure here that is going to support what you need. We're just a small piece, and we'll bring the tools of trade that you need to help. So let me just explain the problem. You have a decision to make, whether you want to hire a private contractor or go through the coordinated debris program. It's coordinated. In other words, we handle the material the same way. The reason it's designed this way is that we want to protect the community as we pull out the ash and debris. We don't want to expose you a second time from the ash and debris. So if you hire a private contractor, you're going to have to meet some new standards that you normally would not meet. In other words, wrapping the truck and load, tarping, those are types of things that we want to make sure the contaminants don't release back into the environment. So with that said, you have 2 phases. The first phase is already taking place, which is DTSC pointing out the household hazardous waste. And we call phase 2, which is the coordinated debris removal. In that phase, I'm going to ask you to sign what's called a right to enter. I'm a little bit of a constitutionalist. I don't want to come to your property unless you invite me to your property. So once you invite me to the property, that will then tell you that you're in the program. We'll send out a team that will do a survey of your property. They'll take photographs, document what's on the property. Cleanup contractor will show up. They'll take the metal, the ash, all the concrete structure, soil. At that point, we'll take soil samples to make sure that the contaminants have been removed. And then we do erosion control, we do a final walk, and we return it back to the property owner. It is a lengthy process. Engineer designed it, yes. But I'm also a fireman, and I'm also a person who's lost a lot of family, a lot of friends. I grew up in Middletown, And that's probably one of the fires you saw, same here, 100,000 acres in basically a day, burned through the town. So I know what you're facing. You're going to be stronger for it. Let me tell you right now, every community that I've been to, you're stronger for it. You've got great leadership here. So you don't want to take a lot of time as far as the details, because there's a lot of weeds, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of trust. We've been very successful. We're now doing this in Paradise as well. We have approximately 16,000 structures to pick up and help. We have schools, we have basically the town has been decimated, as you've seen. So we're a little thin. We know that we're a little thin, but we're going to make it work. This is a size of an effort that is going to take all hands on deck, and we're pulling in people from all across the state. You're going to have people that are going to come here from multiple agencies to help. A lot of these people have actually lost their homes as well in Paradise. So that's our commitment to same as the previous speakers. I'm going to be in the back, so if you have a question on the degree, I'd like to talk about that. Site-specific, concrete, how do you do it, where is it going, all those questions. I'm here until the last question is answered. Okay, brief, short, we'll make it work.
All right, our next speaker is from it's a great organization, local organization that's here truly to help out the community and those victims. At this time, I would like to call up Jen Kurtz to talk about the LV Fire Relief Organization.
Thank you, Romero. Okay, so this is not what I normally do. LV Fire Relief was started by myself and a couple other moms. There's about 4 of us that are working on this, and we started it as a way for the community to help the community. What we're doing is we have several goals. One is which was to raise $100,000, which we have done already. We will continue to raise funds, but with that $100,000, we will be dispersing funds to families on a needs basis. We met today, and we'll be sending out checks on Monday. People will be contacted, and that's for everyone who applied prior to December 1st. We have lots of other families that have come out to us since then, and we will continue to help those families. So this was started for a way for the community, to help the community, but we have reached all the way to Germany. Germany radio has come to us, Germany TV. People from back east keep calling because their friend has told them. So it's a way to help all of you families that have been displaced or lost your homes get some monetary funds immediately. We're not a government agency, just a nonprofit. The other thing we have is a donation center, which is located on Canwood, which is at Deary and Canwood, and we welcome everybody to come. It's open on a needs basis. Our hours are now 4 to 8, Monday through Friday, and 10:30 to 4:30 on Saturday and Sunday. And we have everything that you guys might need for immediate replacement. We have tons of clothes, bedding, linens, houseware stuff, cleaning products, and as people ask for things, we get more and more. We just got a huge shipment from Munchkin, so we have tons of baby supplies for those that need that. And the other thing that we're working on, and one thing we'll have a table in the back to help as well, is registries. We're doing an adopt a family type wish list of needs, and that's for any family that has been displaced or permanently or temporarily and need items. Rather than a traditional adopt a family, we will be having you guys register with Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, and other families in the community and abroad can come and look at your registry and buy you exactly what you need. One thing I constantly tell people is these are not people that are homeless. These are people that have lost their home, and there's a difference. And you guys deserve the best and what you guys need. So I'd rather you register and say these are the bedding that I want, rather than having to come to the donation center and pick up just something that might fit. Again, I'm part of this community. The women that I've worked with, we're part of it, and we only want to do anything and everything to help you. So please stop by the donation center, or if you have time at the end of the day, to find out how to register. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kurtz. All right, so we are almost at the Q&A portion. We just have one last presentation. So I do encourage everyone to please continue to fill out those comment cards and raise your hand. We have staff ready to pick those up on a moment's notice. We're going to move into the Agoura Hills community portion now. Recognizing that we have the majority of our community here today to learn about the the information we have, we wanted to go through the various things that the city has done for its residents and for its community. I can speak on behalf of the council when I say that you have a council that's very active in making sure that the residents' concerns are heard and that things are done to address the residents' concerns. We have council members here tonight that are here in support, obviously, of this endeavor. And so we look to always continue to be proactive in doing things for the community. So we just want to bring light to a few of the things that we have been able to do for you and things that we're going to do. In terms of staying informed, you did receive, I think, in your packet, an opportunity to sign up for what's called Connect CTY. It's our reverse 911 system that allows for you to get information from us. It is a great opportunity for you to be informed of anything and everything possible that becomes to that emergency level status. We highly suggest that you take the opportunity to please sign up whenever you get a chance. If you're not tech savvy enough to do it, please come on in. We'd be happy to sit down with you at a counter and set it up for you. We can get the information from you in any way, shape, or form, but it is a service that is very vital to being able to get out emergency messages to you. So please look into Connect CTY. CMail, many of you may already be part of our CMail program, but if you're not, you just go to the city's website, go into the CMail accounts, and you'll see subjects that you can receive emails and information on. So please sign up for our CMail if you haven't already done so. Our Facebook and our Twitter accounts speak for themselves, but we are very active in getting that information out. I also know that our mayor and our mayor pro tem also have Facebook accounts. They are constantly getting information out. So if you follow the city or you follow our mayor or mayor pro tem, you are constantly getting information, and that's a good resource as well. And of course, our city website. So we are constantly updating that and trying to get the latest information out to you so you can be informed. In terms of our public outreach, we've, since the fires ended or since they were contained, we immediately moved in sort of a triage game plan. And when I say that, I mean that we had to decide right away how we were going to get important information out to those areas within the city in a short amount of time that were at the highest risk exposure. So what we did was we sent letters to 570 homeowners, and we pretty much did the areas that were directly adjacent to and or near a burned area or hillside. So after we sent out those 570 homeowner letters, we deployed our community emergency response team, otherwise known as our CERT folks, out to 300 to 350 homes. So those were door knocks, handing out letters, talking about the high-risk area and the need to be vigilant, to be safe, to pay attention to hillsides, pay attention to signs, use common sense, and know when, if you're in a high-risk area, to yield those signs and take those and possibly think about possibly evacuating in the event that we get a major rainstorm coming through. We've also sent letters out to homeowners associations. A big part of this is understanding that yes, your local agency and the agencies, public agencies in general, are doing what they can on a bigger scale, but there is that responsibility or that dependence on us, on the homeowners and property owners, to also take into account what they can do within their private properties, right? So there is a certain amount of attention that's needed in order to do that. The other thing too with the homeowners associations, a lot of folks may not know, but it's very important, especially in the situation we are today, to make sure that our drainage conveyance systems are all clear. So a lot of those things, when you have hillside V-ditches and whatnot, sometimes debris basins, a lot of those are maintained by your homeowners association. It's a good idea that those homeowners associations take it very seriously, especially in this unique situation, to make sure that all of those conveyance systems are clear of debris so that they can function and operate as they should. So we've sent letters out, but please, as homeowners, if you're a part of an HOA, feel free to reach out to your HOAs as well and let them know. And lastly, you will be receiving a citywide mailer and postcard, again going through some of the information that you can sign up for and directing you to where you can get quick information. So, next. All right, in regards to proactive preparation, the city has used a couple of contracts in order to stay ahead of the game. We've been fortunate, as you all know, to have smaller rainstorms coming up. We've had about 2 now We went through one today. I think the next one is scheduled for December 10th. But in order to adequately prepare ourselves for danger, potential danger in the form of mudslides, rock slides, debris flows, what we've done is enlist the services of many contracts. One of those being geodynamics. These are our contract soils consultants, and what we did initially was we took them around, we did a visual site assessment of the high-risk areas, particularly obviously the burned areas and burned hillsides. And by doing that, we're starting to put together a strategic plan of where to put in barriers, where we could put K-rails, where we could put sandbags. Some of you may have noticed when you drove in, actually it was kind of dark, but we actually have K-rails up on the hillside here to protect against rock flow. And we are looking at areas throughout the city next to some of these burned hillsides of where we can put additional K-rails, additional sandbagging and whatnot to help make sure that our community is safe. Casseray Consulting. So these are hydrology engineers, and they prepare flood risk maps. It's a really well-known company. They actually have experience putting together flood risk maps for the Thomas Fire. They actually looked at the Montecito landslide, and they prepared maps for the city of Malibu and the Santa Monica Mountains area. So we are also going to enlist their services. And what they do is they look at those they determine what areas are in risk based on water level and water speed. So they come in and look at how the city drains, and they take into account that given a certain rain frequency, how much volume is that going to generate, and how fast is that volume going to move. And depending on how those two factors, they're able to determine what areas are in the highest risk. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because we're obviously very sensitive to potential evacuation orders, right? And we don't want to just come out and say, let's just evacuate the whole side of Liberty Canyon, or let's just evacuate this whole HOA of Morrison Ranch. We want to be more precise if we can, and so that's what these maps are going to help us do. We'll be able to look at these and really look at those areas of high risk, and then determine where and if evacuation orders are needed. This is an example of what one would look like. This is not Agoura Hills. This is actually the city of Ventura. But we just wanted to show you a map and what it looks like. Everywhere in red is what has been determined as a high-risk area. So we'll be getting these kind of similar maps for the city of Agoura Hills. Next. All right, so Cal State University Channel Islands. This is actually a really cool one that we're going to be using to have some critical information for the community. Cal State CSUCI has a program with which they take drones and they fly burned areas. And ultimately what ends up coming from that is a 3D model, right? So in November, we flew our burned areas and they're currently processing this 3D model. It will act as a base map for us. And what we'll do is during every month of the rainy season, we'll refly the areas and generate subsequent 3D maps and then overlay them on top of each other. And what these maps will be able to do is determine to a centimeter level whether or not you have land masses moving. So these are 3D maps. If we could go to the next slide, this is just a portion of Agoura Hills that they're working on. It's not quite done yet because it is a lot of information to generate. But we want to let you know that we are doing everything we can and taking every measure in terms of technological advancements to get this kind of data in order to understand where the true risks are in the city. All right, next slide. Oh, last bullet point. So, and then one last thing is we have we want the community to feel comfortable knowing that we have 24-hour response teams. So we have our contractor who's ready to come out on notice if we have any issues, and we also have our tree crew ready to come out as well. So if you report an issue or if we hear of an issue, we have crews to respond 24 hours. Sandbags. Everybody knows sandbags. And we've put piles of sand, we've put shovels, and we've put empty sandbags actually in strategic locations throughout the city based on where the burn areas are. The Fire Station 89, obviously, and Fire Station 65, they have free sand materials. In addition to that, we've supplemented those stations with a pile at Sumac Park. That's obviously to kind of help out the Fountainwood area. Morrison Park to help out Morrison Ranch. Old Agoura Park for the Old Agoura folks. The top of Country Glen Road, east of Jim Bowie Road, that's to help out with the Liberty Canyon folks. And Ray's Adobe Road, north of Lake Lindero Road, to help out with Peacock Bridge. I will say, in terms of sandbags, we have such a great community. Agoura High School, as part of their senior credits, right? The seniors there get to have community service credits. They've offered help or assistance in terms of those that might not be able to fill sandbags themselves. So that's one resource that's available. Boy Scouts, we've talked to the local Boy Scout troops and also been told that they're interested in volunteering their service to help out with filling sandbags for folks that are unable to do them themselves. And I've also been told that the fire department will also help if needed. But if you'd like any of those resources, please feel free to call the city and reach out to me, Ramiro, and I'd be happy to put you in contact and see how we can help the community to get their properties protected. Okay, so what we are going to do right now, we're at the moment that everyone's been waiting for. I will ask that if you have not already done so, please complete your comment cards. That is the way we are going to run this Q&A. Again, it is done with the intent to be able to make sure we have everyone's question and that we can stay focused and keep it moving so we can try to get everyone's question answered. At this time, staff, I'll ask staff if they can start to move up and down the aisles. If you have a comment card that you have not already submitted, please give it to one of them. And then we will take a 5-minute intermission. So I can go ahead and gather these up and we can get ready for our Q&A. So if you want to get refreshments or use the restroom, please do so now and return in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, before we get into Q&A, I would like to introduce our city council members that are here today. Maybe I'm biased, but they are absolutely the best. But they are very concerned, and they are here today to support this effort and again, the recovery process. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Council Member Chris Anstead. There's Chris. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Elise Buckley-Weber. And our Mayor, Ms. Linda Northrup. And at this time, if I could invite Mayor Northrup to please come up and address the audience.
Well, I'm not going to speak for very long because nobody came here tonight to hear me talk, but when I was sworn in as mayor 2 nights ago, I made it the priority of my year to work on recovery, resilience, and our rebuilding process, and to focus on preparedness for everything that's coming up. This is a part of that effort. Our staff is here tonight to make sure your questions get answered. If you feel like your question is too complicated for a response card, I encourage you to simply go on the city website, click on the email address for any one of your council members, in particular my Mayor Pro Tem, Elise Buckley-Weber, Chris Anstead, who's here tonight, myself. You get us that question, I don't care how complicated it is. We will get that question to the appropriate person on our staff. You will get an answer from us. Our phone numbers are all on the website. We are here for you. We care about you. We want you to recover. We want this community to rebuild. So I'm going to leave it at that, and we're going to be here tonight if you have questions for us. We want to get you answers. So thank you all for coming tonight, and let's move on to the questions and answers.
All right, thank you, Mayor Northrup. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for filling out these comment cards. This is going to help make sure that all the questions receive answers. First two that I'm going to address have to do with, they're more comments than questions, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. There's a statement that says, please announce the meetup group called, quote unquote, Woolsey Strong. It's at www. Oh my goodness, I don't want to mess this up. tinyurl.com Woolsey Strong. If you need to reach someone about that information, you can contact, this I'm going to spell it, caesib@gmail.com. Their first event is on approximately December 20th in Woodland Hills. So that's one comment. And then another comment. Okay, it's a good one. I like these ones. Thank you to Los Angeles County Animal Control for their support and care at the evacuation centers like at Pierce College. So, thank you very much. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, we've handed out the comment cards to the various agencies so they can take a look, and the big goal here obviously is to get you answers. So that's why I gave the comment cards to them ahead of time so they can start to think about their answers. And I'm just going to start with the city ones first. So we have, the first question is, who is responsible for the integrity of the hill on Peacock Ridge behind Vets Court and Lake Lindero? So that area gets a little tricky. If you look at it from an aerial perspective, the property lines aren't as intuitive as you might like them to be. What I would say for this particular question, it's either going to be the HOA, the Peacock Ridge HOA, or the city. So I just don't have that exact answer because I can't remember the exact boundary line in my head, but it's going to be either the HOA or the city. What I would say is that the answer is going to be on the website, or feel free to give me a call directly tomorrow, and I'd be happy to give you the answer at that point, but it's going to be one of the two entities. The next one, on sandbags. Where is the best placement for the big piles of sand with bags you have for us? Thank you. Okay, so in terms of the sandbags, right, this is very site-specific, obviously. The one thing that I would offer here is to, again, give me a call. We'd be happy to go out, maybe take a look at how your site looks, and offer some feedback in terms of where it might be, how things are supposed to be set up, how sandbags are stacked, and so forth. But I think the best thing to do is to kind of speak on it, because it just really depends on the way your site is laid out. I will say this though, when we're talking about debris flow, mud flow, rock slides, I want to make sure that one point is clear, right? It's not about 100% prevention of these types of things from happening, right? At this point, it's about diversion. So the big thing that we need to be focused on is where to place these things so that if and when land moves, it moves away from structures, it moves away from life, it goes into areas that it can be cleaned up. And then in the event of flooding and whatnot, again, we're diverting and we're getting it away from sort of more life safety concerns and getting it into areas that can be cleaned up. So those will go into those conversations. But again, to the person that wrote that comment, let's go ahead and talk.
Romero?
Yes.
Can you give everybody your phone number?
Absolutely. So here is my phone number, which will be the front desk. No, I'm just kidding. My phone number direct line is area code 818-597-7353. And I also welcome any emails. I'm at R-A, D as in David, E as in Edward, V as in Victor, A, at ci.agoura, that's A-G-O-U-R-A, hills with an S, .ca.us. You can tell I've given that a number of times. So yeah, please get in contact with me and let's go ahead and see what we can do.
And the phone number one more time?
Area code 818-597-7353. Okay. Next. Will the Castray flood maps and the Cal State 3D maps be available on the city website? So that still remains to be determined. I mean, I think I get the question, and I can see the need to have them up there. There are some unintended consequences that we need to think about that we haven't fully vetted out just yet. I can say that definitively, They'll be available for viewing. If you come to City Hall, I definitely have no problem putting them on the counter and going over them with you. Just whether or not they'll be permanently on the city website, I don't know just yet, and I'm not saying no, but I would say that that's still under consideration. But by all means, if you want to see them when they're done, please come on into City Hall. Again, you have all my information, and come see us, and I'd be happy to go over that with you. Okay, where do I get replacement documents? Like social security cards and passports. You know what, the thing I would say here, unless somebody else wants to go around, right, would be the DRC. Right, so the DRC has people literally under the same roof to help anyone with this exact issue. So again, the DRC up at the former Hilton Foundation building on Agoura Road, please go out there tomorrow. They have staff ready to help you immediately. All right? Okay. Has anyone checked on any contaminants coming from the Santa Susana Field Lab? Isn't this near the origin of the fire? Okay, so my answer to that is not to my knowledge, but we can try to find out more information on this. I'll set this comment card aside, and I'll look into this a little bit more in detail. Yes, Councilman.
I think the only comment that I would add is I think if they contacted Senator Stern's office, I know that's been an issue and been a question to him, and he can help, his office can help answer.
Okay, so Councilman Chris Anstead, in case you couldn't hear what he said, you can contact Senator Stern, Senator Henry Stern's office. This has been a topic that has been brought to his attention, and he may have helpful information on this topic. But again, we will also do that to find out more information, and then we'll be sure to circle that back on the answers on our website. By the way, could I have the staff come up here and with a microphone on this side and a microphone on this side, just to be ready when we get to other agencies outside the city? All right, so let's go to, okay. Our property bisects the creek on Chesbrough Road. The mud flow is filling in the depth of the creek. Will you remove this sediment? Okay, so this gets a little tricky, right? So when we're dealing with creeks within the city, obviously there's fish and wildlife issues and agencies that get involved with that. There are also property issues. Some of the creeks, this is something that might not be common knowledge, but some of the creeks are not owned nor maintained by the city. It's actually the responsibility in certain areas of the private property owners. So my answer to this comment card would be to give me a call with that information that I just gave out, and let's find out your exact location, and that way I can focus the answer specific to the portion of the creek that you are concerned with, and we can make sure that we're answering that question accurately. Okay? All right. Fallen oak trees. There are some numbered on hillsides. Okay, so obviously oak trees are a beloved resource of the city of Agoura Hills, as in the surrounding area. I would say on this one, again, come on in on this. I don't know the answer in terms of how we're going to be handling these fallen oak trees, but I'm sure our planning department will be happy to assist on how to move forward with any oak trees that have been compromised as part of the disaster. And lastly, for the city, will the permitting process for repairs be streamlined? And I can't speak for everybody, but I think this is probably a safe bet to say yes. You know, obviously, if there's been damage, and everybody's very sensitive to the damage caused by the disaster, I mean, the goal is to get everyone up and running as soon as possible. I think that's why you see a lot of these resources like the DRC. Our counter is always open. You have a very active council. Everybody's looking forward to getting the community back to normal. So in general, I would say yes. I don't have specifics on how that could be, but Mayor Northrop's, I would like to say something.
We are going to be agendizing how we're going to be handling the permit process with our Public Works Subcommittee at the earliest possible time. We're in the process of getting that on their agenda. They'll be bringing forth recommendations to the council on those issues, and that subcommittee meeting will be open. We'll notice it. Anybody from the community that wants to come in and attend that will be providing that information.
Thank you, Mayor Northrop. All right, so let's go ahead Again, raise your hand. We have staff looking for hands. I'm going to go ahead and move on to LA County.
One.
You have one?
There you go.
Okay. Actually, you know what, and let me just say this before Director Pastrella comes up here. The questions, we did receive a lot of cards on obviously the Chesbro Bridge, and I know a lot of the community here are for questions regarding that bridge. What we would like to do, or what the county would like to do, is to take that group following the Q&A, which will be here shortly, and go out to the county table, and they are going to address that for that specific group, because we know that the whole contingent might not be completely focused on that, but we have a large contingent that is. So the idea is that you can hear firsthand from the representatives at the county as to what the plan is to move forward with that bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Director Mark Pastrella for the county.
Okay, yeah, and I thank you, Romero. And on the bridge, just as I said, the county's leaning forward on the bridge situation. We're also developing in coordination with Unified Command a access plan, post-fire access plan for mud and debris response and recovery. I know John, the folks in our our operations center here at the Sheriff's Station, I've asked for that. I've ordered for that to show up on my desk next week. So we'll also brief those residents that are impacted, and particularly around the Chesbro Bridge area, about access until the bridge is in. We want to make sure you're aware of what routes. So that's another great question for you to ask if you get to that table with John and the group that are going to walk you through what the process is going to be. The other thing I will also mention, someone asked about sediment in the stream system. It's a combination of private and publicly owned stream system here, as well as flood control facilities, channels. And I want to just warn all of you that there will be migration of sediment through the system throughout the next 5 years, in particular this first year as we get a first flush. You'll see change in color, you'll see sediment move. That's a normal hydrologic cycle that's going to occur. Of course, that can also cause potential threats and overtopping of stream areas. So it is good to take a look if you live adjacent to the stream system to take a look at the current condition and make your public officials aware of those conditions in stream. And LA County Flood Control District is here to assist city throughout, not only in our channel system, but throughout the system on drainage questions and also technology and data that might help us to deal with the current flood and hydraulic condition due to the storm and fire event. There was one question for us as around Melville Lake. I'll paraphrase what was asked. Residents are concerned about returning to homes. Maybe your insurance company is not paying for you to stay out of the home any longer and you have to go back to home. We're concerned that maybe next door there's a property or several properties that are burned to the ground and there may be toxic substances related to those houses, both dust-borne as well as waterborne substances leaving the property. We are currently in coordination, again, as I said earlier, with DTSC and the county's fire hazmat teams, investigating every property that has this condition within it. This question came from the Malibu Lake area. We're in Malibu Lake right now. I know that's happened. It just commenced. Yesterday it began. Today it was raining. We didn't get there, but your community is being focused on currently. The status of those investigations is public and can be provided to you. So if you need something in writing from us about where we are in the investigation of those properties, I'd be happy to do that. Those that are seeking that, again, probably that same table, or one of our folks from the watershed group who can talk to you about receiving county documents. For instance, documents we put out, how many we've investigated and how many more we have to go would be available and what communities they are in. So that's the only question we had on, I guess, for county, unless there's other questions.
Where is that table afterwards?
Okay, Kobe, are you handling this? Yeah. Upstairs in the back, and this gentleman here, Kobe Sky, is here regarding.
If so many people are here to talk about the bridge, why do we have to wait until the very end to go to another room to talk about it?
Which one was it? The bridge. John, if your specific issue is those bridge, I don't think there's and you don't have any other issue, I'm sure we can just break out now. If you, John, want to go back now and talk to him about it, why don't we do that? If that's the only issue you're here for, probably, let's go. We'll take it on. Okay.
All right. So we have, yes, so we're going to move into debris removal. We have a lot of cards here for debris removal. I have Kobe Sky from LA County Public Works who's going to be addressing these issues. And again, as far as the breakout tables go, we will have staff as well outside of just LA County. So when we do break out, we can direct you where to go. So here's Kobe Sky from LA County Public Works.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here tonight, and I'll go through these quickly, but if there's follow-up questions, we are here to provide you with more information. We've got a room set up just to handle any debris-related questions. So first question was regarding hazmat team and the permit for disposing of rubbish. So I'll start by talking about our phase 1 debris removal that's relating to hazardous materials. That is our #1 priority after the fire was completed, is to go through every property that was affected by the fire and make sure that we remove any hazardous materials. And that's things like pool chemicals, used oil, paint, cleaners. If it's remaining in the properties that were burned, we want to remove that first so that it doesn't impact the environment and it doesn't impact public health. This is something that through an emergency declaration by the public health officer, fire department working with DTSC and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency went through. They've already begun. There are 5 teams that are out there going through all of the burned areas, and their goal is to try to wrap that up if they can by the end of the year or very early next year. So that's going to facilitate the second phase, which is non-hazardous debris removal.
I have a question, please. I was at the George Cohen, that's my comment.
Yes.
I was at the Hilton Foundation, went through the whole thing. I spoke to fire people and all that. They took a form of mine, they said I'm on a list, and I want to know when that list is going to be looked at.
So that's the
and
phase 2, and I'll get to that next.
And if, I'm selfishly motivated here, and I know people lost a lot more than me, but having been totaled in the earthquake in '94, I didn't have to go through the hazard. I didn't have to get a permit to throw stuff away. I know the rules change, but the smell from that stuff, I can just knocking my socks off and my wife. Now I get the smoke out of the house. I fired someone to do that, but I got to get some time frame to get the smoke off the burned out buildings on my property. And when I went to the Hilton Foundation and I filled out the form, I was told that sometime between last week and this week, the hazmat team would be there. So I'm just raising that issue.
Right. Yeah, and I think I'm sure what you were told is that we want to get that hazmat clearance first before we go in and get other debris, because we don't want to mix non-hazardous and hazardous materials together. So that is a priority. We're working through that already. Do you have a related question to hazmat materials?
Yes, I do. What do you discriminate between hazardous and non-hazardous? You've got a pile of a burned out house, and a team is going through it. What's hazardous, what isn't hazardous?
Yeah, so thankfully yeah. So it's a visual inspection. It's very quick, and our fire hazmat team, they're specially trained to identify what's likely to be hazardous material. It's things that are typically household hazardous waste, so cleaners, pesticides, chemicals, paint. Those are the kind of things that they know to look for and spot. If it's nothing but ash, most likely that's going to remain. It'll be cleared in phase 2.
Is propane tank considered a hazardous?
Yes.
Okay. So then anything that's not hazardous is then phase 2
That's correct.
for
And-
leftover for the either the homeowner or the county?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have someone from Fire Hazmat. Did you want to add something to that? Do you want to come up real quick, or do we have a microphone for him?
Good evening. My name is Fernando Flores. I'm an assistant chief with the Health Hazmat Division. I've been assigned to phase 1, which is considered the household hazardous waste removal and assessments. Just to give you a little recap. We have 3 teams in LA County. 2 other teams are working in Ventura County. We started the assessments this past Monday, and we focused on the Seminole Springs Mobile Park. That was a highly dense area, suffered a lot of massive destruction, so we started there. Right now, we're currently working in the Malibu Lakes area in your community. The answer to your question for hazmats is the visible containers that we can see. The majority of the containers are propane tanks that have been compromised, so we're taking those away from it. And other visible containers, oils, paints, pesticides, chemicals. So it's very visible stuff. Any containers that we can see that the contents have already been, just basically empty containers, we are spray painting them with a marker, and they're remaining on site. It's just now, it's just an empty container, but it's the visible containers that still have contents inside.
How many days to complete Malibu Lake? How many days to complete Malibu Lake?
Malibu Lake, it will take 2 days. It took us took 2 days to clear the Seminole Springs Mobile Park. There was about 125 structures there, mobile homes. We predict it will take 2 days to complete the Malibu Lake.
Are you working off of some kind of list, or do we have to
No,
notify?
okay, no, we're not working off the list right now. The initial things that are priorities, we're looking at the most dense areas in Agoura and also in Malibu. So we're prioritizing, we're trying to spread the team so we're covering the Malibu area, Agoura, and then the outlying cities. But right now it's just density, where we can get the most work for the most efficient way. Then we're going to, again, systematically comb all the areas.
I have a question. I live in Malibu Lake, and my house is red tagged and I'm on the creek, so it's great news to hear that you're going to get this done in 2 days. Are you going to remove the red tags once the hazmat is gone and completed? How do we know that?
Okay. Yeah, so what we're leaving a yellow posted with a stake on the front property will indicate that the property was assessed and hazmat removed. So we're clear on everything. Another question that somebody else had was, are we removing it right there and then? The answer is yes. As we're walking through the assessments, we're doing the assessments, we're actually physically picking up all the containers. We have a large stake bag truck, and everything's being removed right there on scene, and we're marking every property. DTSC will have a dashboard on a daily basis. It should be up and running in a day or so anybody can go on the website and they can punch in their address to see on a daily basis what has been done and what property was assessed or not.
Just to clarify though, if you're talking about your property being red tagged, and I'll confirm with my colleague from Building and Safety, that's likely because of the habitability and safety of the building itself. And so clearing out the hazardous materials doesn't necessarily remove the red tag. So if there are more questions specific to hazardous materials, we'll answer those now.
I live in Seminole Springs, and I just wonder why we were all able to get in very soon after the fire to sift through all that rubble. And we were all, nobody said anything about hazmat. We were all in there trampling all over our homes, our property, our neighbors, and now it sounds like, we might step in something poisonous or scary. I just wonder why we were able to go in there and do all that sifting. We sifted for days.
I don't know if there's anyone from public health here. I would say that the ash from the fire, if you have, wood that was burned and you have the ash remaining, that's not necessarily hazardous. We do take precautions to make sure you're not breathing in that
I had a
material.
storeroom that was full of paint cans and all the stuff you're talking about. I'm wondering if that's why I can't stop coughing.
So I believe we have some public health folks that are here. It would be good for you to talk to them right after this meeting, and we have health services representatives as well.
I think we have another question here for hazmat.
I live in Agoura Hills, and not a populated area. In fact, my house was the only house on the street that burned. There were 2 off the street that burned as well. So I would like to know approximately when we'll be getting to the individual homes that are not in densely populated areas.
My prediction, and it would probably be about 3 to 4 weeks for when we get into the outlying areas, the ones and the twosies.
Does somebody weigh in the next?
questions. How will you know which houses to go to? That I live in Old Agoura, and I do have hazardous things that you'll need to come and look at. How will you know what to come to my house? Because everything on the block is okay, but my house had damage in the back with sheds and cars and such, which has hazardous things. And does a car count in that hazardous removal? Because I have 2 cars, and the insurance will pick up only one of them, but they said they haven't been cleared to pick it up. So is that part of your hazardous, that you have to come to my house and look at the 2 cars and then tell the insurance company to pick it up? Is that how that works?
So you had 2 questions, I'll try to answer them in order. The first was how we determine. So the good thing about this hazardous materials sweep is that we're getting every property that had any kind of damage. So the first thing that was done was an assessment. We had crews that went out to assess which buildings or structures had some damage, and those were identified in GIS tags. And our good folks at Fire and DPSC are then going back to every single one of those properties to do a sweep to determine if there's had any hazardous materials.
So you know that my house had damage then already?
It should already be on our database.
Okay, thank you.
And then vehicles will be part of the second phase. They're not considered hazardous.
Thank
We
you.
have somebody up here that had a question?
So if we have the property locked up, it's like a chain, and we have any,
Sure, okay, two ways you can do it. You can go to the DRC centers, disaster recovery centers, go to the LA County Fire Department booth or table and give your information, give us your name, telephone number, or email, and you don't have to provide a gate number if you don't feel comfortable with it. At least we can call you, right there on the spot, I would work for the neighborhood, we'll call you so you can show up and unlock or give us the code access to the gates. And this is for anybody with access issues. If you live in a gated community, or if your property or your gate is locked up, please go to the DRC centers and give your name, telephone number, and information, and we can call you guys when we're in the neighborhood.
So in the interest of time, I want to make sure that we talk about phase 2 as well. We definitely will be around right after this to answer any specific questions. So next question are, there are 3 homes on Acacia and Glen Street burned to the ground. Can they be cleared and debris removed at the same time? I'm assuming you're talking about hazardous materials and then non-hazardous. We do need to clear the hazardous materials first. There's a question about how do we opt into the debris removal. That's a wonderful question. If you go out the door there and go up the stairs to the right, we have a team of folks with the opt-in forms. We want to get as many people signed up as possible. The deadline is by the end of this year to turn in the right of entry forms that you heard mentioned earlier today. We need those signed up, filled out so that we can enter your property, clear out all of the non-hazardous debris. What's involved in removal and the extent of the help with the cleanup. So if you qualify, if you're a residential property that had significant or complete destruction of your building, you should be able to qualify automatically for this program. Come see us and talk to us. If you're in a gray area, we can talk you through that. But what that means is the state is partnering with LA County to come in and clear all of the non-hazardous debris from that property. So it's ready for you to do any remaining demolition if needed, and then start with the building process. It's stated that cleanup will not cost the property owner anything, but how about homeowner's insurance? So FEMA requires that if you have homeowner's insurance that would have paid you for debris removal, that we collect those proceeds only and reimburse the state. That way there's not a duplication of benefits. It's pretty straightforward. If you don't have insurance, if you don't have enough insurance, the goal is essentially to cover all of the cost. So this program is at no cost to the ratepayer, but if there's a duplication of benefits, the insurance proceeds would pay back the program. Very quick question on that?
Yeah, I thought I heard you say that for area things need to be knocked down, so if there's a chimney, you guys aren't.
Why don't we wait for the mic to...
Hi. So I thought you were saying if there are things that need to be knocked down, that's outside. So if I have a chimney, that's not part of it. So
That's correct.
that money that I would have had would have gone to a cleanup crew that would have knocked it down. So if I'm giving you all my money, now I'm out of pocket.
It definitely will not be all of the proceeds. And the state has actually looked, if you have funding that's going towards rebuilding, you're going to use all the funding for the rebuilding. If there's any left over, it would reimburse the state. If there's nothing left over, you don't owe us anything. So it's just to make sure there's no duplication of benefit. Oh, chimneys are included, I'm being told, so thank you for that clarification. We actually have a table that shows exactly what is and is not included, and that's available at that same location. Time frame to get hazmat cleared up, we already heard 2 days in Malibu Lake, and they'll be going out to the rest of the areas, hopefully wrapping up in the next few weeks. If downstream debris and sediment is flowing, what should be done? There's fantastic resources for you to protect your property against mud flows. Make sure that you go out to the public works team. We'll be able to help you with that as well. Our director talked to you about what measures will be used to control settlement, and some of that is going to be a natural part of the cycle. So again, talk to us about what you can do to protect your property and ensure that mud flows aren't creating additional damage. And in Malibu, and this is related to a question that came up, we have a limited access on property. It would be great to be able to look through stuff before the hazmat team clears. The hazmat team, as was mentioned, is very unlikely to get anything of value. It's really about getting things that are hazardous. You definitely do want to sift through your belongings before phase 2, and there will definitely be an opportunity for you to do that. I recommend that you talk to our LA County Fire Department folks to coordinate the timing of that, and they're here as well today. So thank you so much for the opportunity to answer your questions. We'll be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kobe. Oh, one more follow-up.
I just wanted to clarify, when you mentioned propane tank, we weren't talking about just small little barbecue tanks, but I'm talking about the full large propane that takes care of the whole home. Is that going to be the responsibility of this phase that you're talking about, or is that the propane tank company?
Yeah. Any size propane tank is hazardous. It'll be included in phase 1.
Okay, and then this, if I may, second question. Is there somebody here from the Public Health Department that could speak to, in our case, we are on a cul-de-sac of 6 homes. All five out of the 6 homes burnt to the ground. Ours still exists with some damage. So we need to know, besides from those toxic items being removed, I need something from the Public Health Department to acknowledge that us still being displaced, and that's how we can communicate with our insurance company. It's kind of an unusual situation. I mean, all of our situations are unusual and different, but something that can help us bridge that communication between us and insurance. And it's not just about when the utilities go on, technically you can move back in.
I believe Public Health is here. If they're not, I'm happy to make sure that I connect them to you, and I know that they are in the DRC.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing. Very quickly.
Okay. My question is, I know the city is ready to remove the debris first before we can start rebuilding anything. What is the determination? Do you remove those totally destroyed property first, like ours, or those half damaged? And because our house is totally damaged, we are not even living in there, how do we know when you are coming to remove it? Because we might still have something under the debris that we could scavenge, something that, we can get our memory back. So we wanted to know, we don't want everything removed before we are aware of that. And so what is the city staff? You remove the totally destroyed property first, or the half damaged one?
So for phase 1, which is hazardous material, it won't matter if you're partially damaged or fully damaged. You're going to do a sweep, and they're going to try to do that in the most efficient way possible. And so it's really about the dense urban areas and the areas that are susceptible to further mudslides first, and then fanning out to cover the rest of the areas. You will definitely have time to coordinate before any of the phase 2 work, which is non-hazardous debris removal. That'll be starting around mid-January. So you definitely will have time to clear out any of your sentimental or valuable belongings.
So we are allowed to go into the property to remove something we might be able to collect and then let the city know, or do we have to register first before we do that?
I would suggest talking to the fire department so that you can coordinate that.
Okay, Fire Department of Agoura Hills?
If you're in the city of Agoura Hills, but you can also
Okay,
talk to county fire. Because LA County Fire is coordinating all of the phase one, and we want to make sure phase one is completed before we have people going back to their properties.
Thank you, Toby. I do have there's a question here. What measures will be taken to manage speed and safe driving on Chesbrough, which is a thoroughfare for equestrians and wildlife? Currently, there is no enforcement. So I have regular meetings with our traffic enforcement, as well as our traffic engineers, and we constantly look at issues related to this. And when we hear about traffic concerns, we immediately discuss those and make any changes as necessary. This sounds like an enforcement issue. I will be sure to bring this up at my next meeting with our traffic enforcement group. So I will also bring up Mark Mistrella. I think there's a question for the county.
Okay, there was a statement which was nice. It's not a question, but they wanted to thank LA County Animal Control for their support and care of the animals during this event at Pierce College, which was nice. And I don't know if Animal Control is in the room, but I know we are at the DRC for the time being. The question is, can the county work with the state and national parks to fund hydroseeding with indigenous plant and plantings replacement to help revegetate the burn areas lost? Yeah, people don't want to see invasives take over. And, you know, we are also blessed here to have these incredibly natural lands in this area to be right up against state and national park systems. And I'm sure many of you use them. They're jewel of the North Santa Monica Mountains, and Supervisor Kuehl shares your love of that area and knowing that this is your backyard. We will be working very closely with SNMC as well as National Park Service, the County Flood Control District, and our road department looking at effective means of erosion control. And I know Park Service is already talking about proper way to manage the burned area. They will many times say that fire is a part of the natural cycle. But what does happen at times is you will get invasives to come into play. I kind of mention it here because I can tell you as a flood control engineer and as a civil engineer, we've been looking at hydroseeding and its effectiveness for some time, and most of us don't believe it is the effective way to handle erosion due to these cycles anymore. So you just don't see a lot of hydroseeding. You see it sometimes on the road cuts. I know we, on our road cuts that we have in the county roads, we'll be looking at effective ways, both manual erosion control. Probably first course will be manual erosion control rather than trying to seed. Really ineffective if you try to seed in the first year anyway, because you don't have enough soil adhesion there and that to keep the seeding in place. So there's a long debate about hydroseeding, and it's something we can go on for a long time, but I think a really good conversation with National Park Service and state parks about the plans for the wildlife areas and for wildlife in general in this area. So that's my answer to that one.
Mark. I've been asked to make a statement that for anybody looking for Cal OES, I think that they have right of entry forms here upstairs readily available. So if that's something during the breakouts here shortly that you haven't done and you need to do, please take advantage of that service here today, as well as FEMA. We have representatives from FEMA as well who are asking that you register with FEMA. So if you can use that service, please, again, take care of that while you're here, and we have representatives here as well. There's a question for the Water District, so I have Daryl coming up.
Good evening, I'm Daryl Johnson with Lost Workers Water. So the question is, when will LV water be safe for Seminole Spring people? The water in the district system is safe. The concern is with the private line within the park. We will be sampling around 10:30 tomorrow, and I think, have you, Betty, sign me afterwards? I want to give you some more info, but the water in the system is safe to drink.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, so I think I can't see any more comment cards. So that will conclude the formal Q&A portion of our town hall. I would ask that if you have any further questions, there are folks. We have one more. Come on up. All right, building and safety. A question for building and safety.
Good evening. My name is Lion Kayak. I'm with LA County Building and Safety. We're located on Agoura Road, and we are the building official for. Is it off? Okay. For county unincorporated area as well as City of Westlake Village. One of the questions that came up about demo permit is, what is the process envisioned to obtain demo permits? Thank you. I'll hold it. And let me start by explaining the importance of a demo permit. It's a legal document that you folks will be able to use, to present to insurance companies as well as the LA County assessor for whatever tax purposes you can benefit out of it. So the process is, I think it was explained that in phase one, once the hazmat team has gone through your property and cleared the property, then we will invite you to come and pull a demo permit. You'll have to sign for it, and we'll send an inspector to inspect that it was demo property. Now, one thing that you may need to show us is basically that your square footage is was legally obtained at the initial permit issuance. So this is something we'll work with you. We'll rely on county assessment information, but we'll go out of our way to help you get your house back in order. Any question about this? Go ahead.
How do you see post-tension slabs houses
Good
being
question. So, for many of the rebuilds, you will be using the existing foundation, hopefully. And what we will ask you to do is hire a structural engineer to look at your foundation, and we'll give you a form for the engineer to fill it out, sign it, which basically shows us that it is certified to be structurally sound to carry future weight. And we'll go with it.
Does that go with the soils around it as well? You have to have a soils engineer too?
So depending if you're expanding beyond the perimeter of the existing slab or if you're building in kind. If you're building in kind, then we'll have to see if you have hazards or geotechnical nature, then we may require you to get a soil report. If not, we'll discuss on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, my question is, would the city expedite the process of the permit for reconstruction? And also, when our house is built, it will be a brand new one because it's totally destroyed. But would that increase our property tax because of the new building? Or is it still going to be compared to what we used to pay before our house was burned?
Okay.
How is that going to go?
So I brought up actually, this is the city building official, Amir Hamidzadeh. I just want to make sure that there is a clear delineation of what properties are in LA County unincorporated and then also within the city, because I do hear, what is the city permitting process type questions, and so those are more geared towards our own building department. So the city of Agoura Hills, as many of you know, has our own building department. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to our building official, Amir Hamidzadeh, and he can talk. You might have to restate your question.
Yeah, my house is in the border of Agoura Hills and Oak Park, but I belong to LA County. So I should talk to Agoura Hills City Council about the permit, right?
Yes, thank you for the question. If you do fall within the city limits, City of Agoura Hills limits, we will expedite your process, your permitting process. But just like our mayor addressed a similar question earlier, we're going to have a committee, we're going to go over everything and set things up. But I can tell you that everybody in the city cares a lot about what has happened, and we'll expedite your process as much as we can.
But we also worry when the house is rebuilt, are we going to increase several fold of the tax that we used to pay?
would that be the possibility that's gonna happen?
I do know that the LA County Tax Assessor is working on a response to these issues. And my strong suggestion, and this is why we want to encourage people to go to the Disaster Recovery Center. So they have a representative of the Los Angeles County Tax Assessor at the Disaster Recovery Center to answer the question that relates specifically to your property, to total damage, to partial damage, to what's going to be put there. And they are in a position to tell you about the relief that's available and how you fill out the proper forms. And I know this is a bureaucratic nightmare. That's why we want to get everybody to get to the Disaster Recovery Center and try to make it as easy as possible. And it's not easy, and I know it's not easy, but the tax assessor does have a representative there. Mr. Dwyer, who you heard from earlier today, if you get there and you can't find something you need, I encourage you to go to the City of Agoura Hills room. Yes, Steve, I'm pointing at you. And Steve will help you get to the place you need to go to get the answers to the questions that you have. But that would be for the LA County Tax Assessor.
All right, thank you, Mayor Northrup. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the evening. I will say, as our comment cards say, answers to these will be written in written form and be placed on our website at some point in the next couple of weeks. On behalf of the council and the City of Agoura Hills, we want to say thank you very much. Please be vigilant and be safe, and take care and have a great night.